My name is Nellie Bly, although my birth name is Elizabeth Jane Cochran. I was born on May 5th, 1864. When I was 6, I lost my father, and my family suffered financially. I had to stop going to the Indiana Teachers College, and I focused on helping my mother run a boarding house. One day, while reading the Pittsburgh Dispatch, I stumbled upon a pretty misogynistic entry, so I decided to write a letter to the editor. The editor not only read my response, he printed my rebuttal and offered me a job as a columnist. So, as a newspaper writer, I took the pen name Nellie Bly. As a woman, it was extremely difficult to find work. Nonetheless, I continued to write. I went on to publish my most famous work, 10 Days in a Madhouse. After working for the Pittsburgh Dispatch for a few years, I got an assignment to infiltrate the Blackwell insane asylum from Joseph Pulitzer. Working under an assumed name, I took a room in a boarding house and set out to prove myself insane. It was quite interesting and funny. I wandered the halls and nearby streets, refused to sleep, ranted and yelled, and of course this was all to get into the asylum and expose its injustices. I found that although the asylum was originally built to hold 1,000 patients, Blackwell was cramming more than 1,600 people into the asylum. When I arrived in the fall of 1887, extensive budget cuts had led to a sharp decline in patient care, leaving just 16 doctors on staff. Additionally, doctors and staff had little training and in many cases little compassion. They ordered harsh and brutal treatments that offered little assistance. I quickly befriended my fellow inmates who revealed rampant psychological and physical abuse. Patients were forced to take ice-cold baths and remain in wet clothes for hours, leading to frequent illnesses. They were forced to sit still on benches without speaking or moving, lasting 12 hours or more. Some patients were tethered together with ropes and forced to pull carts like mules. Food and sanitary conditions were horrific, with rotten meat, moldy, stale bread, and frequently contaminated water dished out. Those who complained or resisted were beaten, and there was the threat of sexual violence. To add to the torment, the building was freezing. The draft went whizzing through the hall, and patients looked blue with cold. Within the first few days, I was forced to take an ice-cold bath in dirty water, sharing 2 coarse towels among 45 patients. Also, nearly all night long, I listened to a woman cry about the cold and beg for God to let her die. Another one yelled murder at frequent intervals and police until my flesh felt creepy. So after pretending to be mentally ill for 10 days, the New York World published my articles about my time in the insane asylum on Blackwell's Island in a 6-part series, actually. 10 Days in a Madhouse quickly made me one of the most famous journalists in the United States. Furthermore, my hands-on approach to stories developed into a practice now called investigative journalism. Following my work, a bill that was already under consideration, which would increase funding for mental institutions, was pushed through. Abusive staff members were fired, translators were hired to assist immigrant patients, and changes were made to the system to help prevent those who did not actually suffer from mental illness from being committed. Also, in 2020, I got my very own monument. I truly believe my career reached new heights when I decided to travel around the world after reading the popular book Around the World in 80 Days. My trip only took 72 days, which was a world record. I got married in 1845, and I retired from journalism. But after he died in 1903, I was left with the control of a massive manufacturing company. I went on to patent several inventions related to oil manufacturing, many of which are still used today. In my later years, I returned to journalism, covering the women's suffrage movement and World War I. As a woman, it is easy to go unnoticed. But that is all the more reason why my legacy must continue. America must not forget that women are a powerful force in history. I was a muckraker. I pioneered investigative journalism, all while taking action towards protecting the rights of the mentally ill, patenting relevant inventions related to oil, and advocating for women's rights. I must be included in the APUSH curriculum to diversify it from the familiar cis white male narrative and to empower other women such as myself.